Hello and welcome to a new video. Today is Friday the 17th of February 2017. It's currently 1704 hours Central European time. In order to quickly verify that, I will take you to several news websites so that you can see that this is the day we're talking about, that these dating timestamps here are not forged or fake or whatever. This is the crap that they have at CNN. I'm not really paying attention to CNN because it's just pointless ridicule of North America, allowed by the fucking bitch queens of North America and by the delusional wannabe would-be royals and nobility over there that think they have ties to whatever in the first place delusional nobility, but so be it. So this is the crap that they have at CNN. I'm gonna give you, let's see what I can give you. Wikipedia, just to show you. I'm sorry, I'm gonna take this to the English version. Today's in the news. Here is in the news today. This is why I came here. On this day, February 17th, in the news today, a suicide bombing in Pakistan, the Indian space research, blah, 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 Kim Jong-nam, the half-brother, blah, 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 La La Land wins in 5 categories, blah, 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 a suicide bombing in Lahore, Pakistan. That's actually, okay, there seems to be 2 suicide bombings in Pakistan, and whatever crap. So today is the 17th of February 2017. This is important and historic, and that is why I would kindly ask you to pay attention. It has to do with restructurings of the European Confederation. This is the flag of the European Confederation, not a political entity as such. It is a whole lot of individual nations who, as individual nations, are political entities, not as a confederation, but nonetheless they do things in a confederated way. So this is the flag of the European Confederation. This is the flag of the nation of Ireland, and I'm going to briefly talk in this video about several restructurings of the European Confederation. So I'm going to do away with this, and I will start with just showing you the artwork, actually. This here. Now, pay attention to what it says here. EK Handelsdomänen Post Albion, which means the trade domain coloring that you are familiar with from my previous videos, but knowing that all things Albion will be annihilated. Now, as you can see here, I took the liberty to just use a very, very dark gray to show how all things Albion are to be annihilated. An interesting thing that I want to touch on briefly, I actually read Wikipedia here, is how terminology is utilized in all manners of routines against me, as well as the extraction protocols that they drag out of the out of the proxy devices placed here are being deliberately wrongly explained in meaning based on that they who pass on the extraction protocols utilize terminology that I use, but for different things than I refer to when I use these particular few cases of terminology. I want to take you to to the terminology British Isles. You have a wonderfully confusing little artwork here, if I'm not mistaken. So here. Terminology of the British Isles, which is funny, because as you can see, British Isles, British Islands, is really British Isles. And I've always referred to Albion, and I sometimes said all things England, Wales, Scotland, and I sometimes said British Isles. Now the term Albion is poetic in the first place, and British Isles is even misunderstandable. So let me make something very clear here. Namely, I want to explain this to you based on the Channel Islands, Guernsey, and Jersey. Now, I have explained a long time ago, and I'm actually going to show you the artwork for that. That is an old artwork. I hope I find it here somewhere. Here, this is from March 2015. Okay, that's almost 2 years old. Look at this artwork. Guernsey and Jersey a part of the new successor nation of France, one of the new successor nations, Normandy. Guernsey and Jersey have nothing to do with fucking Albion. Okay? Even geologically, they have nothing to do with fucking Albion. I want to make this clear. Guernsey and Jersey have nothing to do with fucking Albion. They are part of Normandy. In which case, precisely, they may or may not from Normandy get some kind of special treatment as they experienced in the past is not my fucking business. I don't give a rat's ass. I just want to make clear that Guernsey and Jersey have nothing to do with Albion. Why do I mention Guernsey and Jersey, even though it's nothing new? This is from almost 2 years ago. I mention that because of the fact that this here, where you can see all of these lines go about, namely the Isle of Man, happens to have the same kind of status as Guernsey and Jersey, in that it is not really officially part of the United Kingdom, but just some kind of dependency that they've declared in a deliberately not to be able to put your finger on it, what exactly its precise status, for the sake of utilizing it in all manners of inhuman technology and virtual war games and virtual reigns declared, and so on and so forth. Okay, so I want to make something very clear here. The Isle of Man, and I know that I mentioned the Isle of Man in the past because they utilized the flag of the Isle of Man, the tricolor flag, to declare war against mankind, as I explained in an earlier video. Ignore what I said in the earlier video about Isle of Man being part of Albion, because in the restructuring of what used to be Wales, England, and Scotland, I had it that way, that the Isle of Man would be part of what I call New Scotland. However, what with all things Albion being sunk, that really enables the Isle of Man, of all the shit you see here, the Isle of Man being exempt from that, namely pretty much according to what you see here, and then again not, because Northern Ireland has nothing to do with fucking Albion. The entire island of Ireland is not Albion. Guernsey and Jersey is not Albion, and the Isle of Man is not Albion. Everything else is Albion. Okay? All of the islands, the Orkneys, the Shetland, the Hebrides, the mainland proper, all the little islands in front of it, like the Isle of Wight and whatnot, all of that, that's Albion, and all of that will be sunk, but the Isle of Man, not. And Northern Ireland has long since been declared as part of now a united Ireland that is nothing, it's an old country and has nothing to do with Albion. Okay? So Albion is everything you see on a map except the entirety of the island of Ireland, except the Isle of Man and except Guernsey and Jersey. Okay? I want to point this out. And moreover, to be very precise, when I say Isle of Man, I also mean the wee little islands in front of it, like the Calf of Man, and so on and so forth, right? It's not just the main island. That what is called the Isle of Man, just as that what is called, I think, the bailiwick of... Is that what I use the term bailiwick for? Anyhow, it's not just the main island of Guernsey and Jersey, it's all the islands of what's called Guernsey and Jersey, being part of one of the successor nations of France in the north of former France. And the Isle of Man, sorry, is not Albion. Everything else is Albion. I want to show you this here. Guernsey and Jersey are so small that they are not even in this map here. They would be about here. And please note that the Isle of Man is not colored dark gray. Everything else, these are the Faroe Islands, they belong up here, but everything else is colored dark gray because all of this here happens to be Albion, and that is what is to be annihilated and sunk for all practical purposes. Now, what with me realizing recently, just a few days ago, that it was inevitable that all of Albion shall be sunk, even upon the liberation of mankind, because it really is necessary for the liberation of mankind, I understood that I have to revisit this map. So there's a couple of changes. First of all, the Isle of Man is large enough, contrary to Guernsey and Jersey, and contrary to Guernsey and Jersey, to be its own country by itself. The Isle of Man is hereby, and I would like to remind you that I'm not just the prime protector of mankind, but also the administrator of Europe. So this is where I inform the world, and especially Europe, about me administrating and restructuring Europe due to the gonna happen, absolute annihilation of all things Albion. The Isle of Man becomes its own sovereign nation. I want to point this out, which really means that in the northwestern European domain northwest, the orange colored here, there is one little nation added, and in fact, due to the fact that quite a lot of, namely three, in the planning it was three, namely New Scotland, New England, and New Wales, as three fell away, and also due to the fact that a whole lot of the population of what used to be the northwest, or what was supposed to be the northwest domain of Europe, will plummet in numbers. Not just was this declared a new nation for voting purposes in the European Confederation, but also Luxembourg actually changed color. It went from formerly being allotted to domain southwest to now being allotted to domain northwest. Okay? So the thing to understand since the last time you've seen a map like this is that the Isle of Man has become a sovereign nation and is part of domain northwest. All things Albion will be sunk, and Luxembourg actually now belongs to domain northwest and no longer southwest. The interesting thing about the realization of Albion being sunk is that several considerations that previously held necessary and true no longer were necessary. You may or may not remember how I said in the past that previously I had Spain not subdivided because for defense purposes I said how I wanted a large nation down there. Due to the way things are going, these defense purposes no longer are necessary to such an extent, which enabled me to actually finally do what I had already planned originally, but decided not to do for defense purposes. Now there is no more need for such defense purposes, and I was able to subdivide Spain. The Spain, as you know it, has been subdivided into three. You have Catalonia here as an own sovereign nation, and I want to show you this here in the Wikipedia article. There is, you have Catalonia as an own sovereign nation, and next to it, west of it, so to speak, you have Aragon, Valencia, Murcia, and the Balearic Islands, these four former autonomous communities, or whatever they refer to them in Spain. Aragon, Valencia, Balearic Island, and Murcia together form another new country, for which I don't currently have an official name. For the time being, I refer to it as Aragon y Costas, which, according to my crooked Spanish, means Aragon and the coasts. That is not meant to belittle Valencia, Murcia, and the Balearic Islands. It's just my systematic look of things is basically Aragon being landlocked and everything else being on the coast, and of course being islands. And that is why I call this Aragon y Costas for the time being as a placeholder name. And this is the new successor Spain to be. This will not be further subdivided nor anything else down here. This is as small, so to speak, as what also in the future may very likely carry the name Spain or New Spain or any such. This is the New Spain. But I want to point out that due to Albion going to be sunk, and the interesting thing is, you may or may not remember that pretty much exactly a year ago, early February 2016, I recorded a video. You can find it on YouTube. Actually, I'm gonna show you that video. I think it was the 4th of February, if I remember that right. The 4th of February 2016, mind you, so a little over a year ago, actually. That should be about here, I guess. Nope. This one here, Thursday, 4th February 2016 afternoon. In this video, I addressed Spain back then, and I gave them an ultimatum, for which I remember the day following, I got severely attacked, and that is because of how Albion's nobility / royalty Faex Mundi filth is associated and allied with likewise such nobility royalty filth on what used to be Spain. Okay? The interesting thing is, with Albion falling, so to speak, I was able to, and I mean I was able in the sense that all attempts of theirs to work routines that would keep me from that made poof by themselves, not even with me having them go poof, but they made poof by themselves. So I was able to do away with, or I was able to subdivide Spain. That may also be because the Abwehrbeamte may have malinformed some fuckers out there on me allegedly wanting Spain to remain intact, which isn't altogether untrue, because I explained in the past I did eventually choose to keep Spain intact before it was obvious that all of Albion would be sunk for defense purposes, but now with all of Albion sunk, there is no longer a need to keep Spain completely intact, and that is why it will be divided in an independent Catalonia, where I want to remind you it's not just that part of Catalonia as such, but it also includes, and I want to show you this here again, it also includes the Pyrenees Orientales, okay, from what used to be France. This little chunk here is included with Catalonia and forms a new nation. And on the other side, on the Gulf of Biscaya, you have the Pyrenees Atlantiques be included in this here nation, right? This is actually the Pyrenees Atlantiques. They be included in this here nation. That is how the follow-up success situation works. So, in domain northwest, all things Albion going to be sunk. The Isle of Man is a new independent sovereign nation, and Luxembourg joining that domain in allotment. In the domain southwest, the former Spain being subdivided, now being 3 countries, something that will in future also be called Spain, something for which I still need a better name than Aragon y Costas, and something called Catalonia. Moving further on, due to the number of nations now in southwest, New Monaco actually was shoved on one domain in allotment, which means that New Monaco previously also belonged to southwest, but due to the fact that there is now, so to speak, would be too many countries in southwest, New Monaco actually now counts as part of domain south. Okay, so Luxembourg was shoved to northwest, and New Monaco was shoved to south. That is another little change from the most recent map. I do want to point out that the thing about Spain and me realizing how natural and how easy it came to subdivide this may have also to do with the fact that I recently also elaborated on how the Roman Catholic Church is long since dead and buried, and all you have is splinters and whatnot. Because the reason for that is that some of the delusional direct nobility and royalty in what used to be Spain might have been deluding about whatever crap down the lines of the RCC, in addition to their being interwoven with the filth amongst nobility and wannabe such on Albion, and maybe because the Abwehrbeamte, again, out of incompetence or with a whole lot of deliberation, let through some information, selected and thwarted and twisted in truth to the right extent, that somehow the fellas down there finally figured that they are screwed. I want to point this out because the reason why this matters is here we have the trade map of the European Confederation, but I want to also show you, I have not updated this map, but I'm going to show you the most recent one. Where is it? This is the most recent one. This is the most recent annihilation map that I have, which is from the 12th of September 2016. This was when last I updated it. I want to point out that you still see one Spain here. The interesting thing is, we don't need this here, with these changes implemented, What this really means is that Catalonia and Aragon y Costas has actually become clear of any red, and the remainder of Spain has become light red only. Right? As a reminder, the annihilation map works that way, that everything deep red needs to be annihilated, not to the extent of Albion. Albion will be sunk. None of this here red will be sunk. Albion will be sunk. I do know that there used to be a map once with there was pretty much that situation. I do remember my maps, trust me. The situation of Albion winding up once more as to be sunk is a completely different one, and it's a different type of to be sunk than it used to be. I did my darnest as prime protector of mankind and as administrator of Europe to protect, so to speak, the people on Albion until I ultimately realized that there is nothing that mankind can do against the mechanisms that Faex Mundi have worked on Albion. Albion will be sunk for all practical purposes. I want to make this very clear. These red territories need not be. And the thing I want to explain about Spain is how basically Faex Mundi in Spain lost it. With the sinking of Albion and or with someone finally out there realizing that the RCC has been dead for the longest time, a whole lot of their delusions and structures and whatnot crumbled. And the result is that now you have three nations down there, what used to be Spain. These two are completely clear of any red, and even the remainder, that is a large country still, mind you, that new Spain, whatever you'd call it, is only light red. Okay, so this would need a bit of updating here. I haven't bothered doing that yet. I want to point this out, just because I find it a very interesting phenomenon. With Albion sinking, it also goes to show just how closely related the Spanish nobility and Faex Mundi filth was with the Albion nobility and Faex Mundi filth. I do want to give you a good laugh here in this video. In this article on Spain, it says here, let's see, where is this? There is a ridiculous, I'm just gonna look for it. Here, this part. Blah, 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 blah. Spain's new king, Juan Carlos, known for his formidable personality. Spain's new king, Juan Carlos, known for his formidable personality. Right? Known for his, that is a real fucked up piece of Faex Mundi shit! Okay? Almost down the quality of Bonnie Fuck. That Juan Carlos piece of shit. I know that he's an old guy, he retired, and his son is now delusionally ruling over whatever the fuck he thinks is Spain. But I want to point out, that fella here on Wikipedia, it says, known for his formidable personality. That's a piece of shit. And when I read this, I got me a laughing fit. Spain's new king, Juan Carlos, new back in 76, 77, known for his formidable personality. There's a righteous piece of shit. Okay? Just for completeness sake. But these nobility and royals are all history down there anyhow. But just so you know, I haven't bothered updating the annihilation map yet, but one of the things to be included will be the lightening of red in what remains Spain and the complete lifting of any red on these two new successor nations. And that is a huge success, ladies and gentlemen, for mankind, because Faex Mundi basically lost the Iberian Peninsula. That's what it means. If you're too stupid to fucking get what that means. And all of Albion will be sunk. That's another little thing you should bear in mind. So, back to this artwork. Nothing else changed. I want to say the changes one more time. The Isle of Man became a new sovereign nation of Europe, part in the European Confederation domain Northwest. It's not a very large nation. It's, as you will see in a few moments, after San Marino and Andorra, it's the third actually, the third smallest, so to speak. But nonetheless, it has become a sovereign nation, unlike Guernsey and Jersey, which are part of this successor nation of what used to be France, Normandy actually. The Isle of Man, or just Man, Manin, I think they call it, is a new nation, independent nation, and is now part of Northwest Europe. Luxembourg has been newly allotted to that domain because two new nations have taken shape here. So Luxembourg was shoved on here, and what used to also belong to this domain, namely New Monaco, has been shoved on to the south. Nothing else changed about this map. I want to point this out. I want to briefly show you the updated EK-Statistik ohne Albion. This is the, and I do want to point out the total number of countries has remained the same. It is now 47 nations plus one if you include European Russia, and it was previously. So one new nation, and here two new nations, simply by the count of nations, does balance the three nations here falling away, because nothing's going to live here for a whole long time to come. I want to make this clear. I have updated this here table, and in the process of doing so, I retouched the votes, sorry, not the voices, the votes. It is now a total of 168 votes for Confederation votings and so on and so forth. And I have reworked the system in Europe so that it is 6 times 8, which means that there is 8 nations. Actually, sorry, they are not sorted by the vote count. Let me change that. Well, this is basically the vote count. There are 8 nations, namely with the least population, the least populous nations. 8 with 1 vote, 8 with 2 votes, following in rising population. 8 with 3 votes, 8 with 4 votes, 8 with 5 votes, and finally 8 with 6 votes. Previously, there was a somewhat different vote number attribution system utilized that only went from 1 to 5. I expanded it to 1 to 6 and retouched the allotment for the votes to the countries. It still has to do with, namely directly with the ascending population, not with the area or any such. I just want to point that out, and that results in this new situation. Northwest, 8 countries, 24 votes. I'm not going to say the individual number of votes, you can read them here. Total 79.149 million people. North, 23 votes. 7 countries, 23 votes, 59.233 million people. Northeast, 5 countries, 19 votes, 81.6 million people. The center or mid, where Finland is in, 22 votes at 102 million people, 6 nations. Southwest, 7 nations, 29 votes, 103 million. Now the most populous one. It used to be that Northwest was the most populous European Confederation domain, but what with the sinking of Albion, the new most populous European Confederation domain will actually be Southwest at a little over 100 million, 29 votes. South, 8 countries, 22 votes, 47.888 million people. Southeast, 6 nations, 23 votes, 62.8 million people. And European Russia with 6 votes. Now, previously they had 5 because the highest number of votes just went to 5. Now the highest number of votes goes to 6, which now enables also Crimea to have 1 vote allotted. Previously, Crimea was not allotted a vote. Just the other parts of how Russia structures its territory. These are the German words used here. Now each of these 6 actually gets allotted 1 vote. That's also a nice side effect. It's not the point of it, but that's a nice side effect of it. So this is the new situation, and the new total vote is 168 in all of the European Confederation domain. That is basically the latest retouching of the European Confederation. I especially want to remind you once more of how Faex Mundi on the Iberian Peninsula has lost it. I'm not perfectly sure to which percentage or degree that is due to Albion going to be sunk, or to the RCC having, even in the delusions of Faex Mundi, apparently made poof. But I found it very interesting. Once more, I also want to point out that there is a high chance that the Albion deliberately malinformed Other fuckers, maybe either directly the fuckers over here or indirectly the fuckers down there, down the lines of that I had, and here they probably insert horrendous lies, that I would insist on Spain remaining intact, which I never did. I made it very clear way back when, and I actually said that, and I think I wrote it in some document, that I wanted then to keep Spain together as one nation for defense purposes, but due to the fact that Albion will be sunk, and what that spells down the lines of what will be happening defense-wise, Europe, well, I don't want to go into that, but this serves defense purposes as it is, and I was able to do the splitting up of Spain, which I already wanted to do or thought of and analyzed previously to my doing the very first of such maps. I want to point this out. But these are interesting changes here, namely especially on the annihilation map, which I haven't updated yet, because this and this have gone completely white, and this has gone light red, whereas previously all of this was dark red. And there's an interesting thing for you. I gave you the updated vote counts. I think that pretty much covers it. And is there anything else? I gave you that funny little line. I so love this line. Spain's new king, Espania's new king Juan Carlos, known for his formidable personality. Okay, that fuckers. Please go and watch that video, this video here, and know ye that in the days following me recording this video, I got severest attacks, okay? Severest attacks. I think in one of the next few videos I already told them that they shouldn't give a rat's ass because they're useless anyhow. But it's been a year where they could have come up with something else and nothing happened, right? So what I want to convey is two things. First of all, I understood that the sinking of Albion, for all practical purposes, requires restructuring of the European Confederation. I did them. I just presented them to you, and independent thereof, and then again not, because it is somewhat tied into the nobility filth on Albion losing it. The former, well, they're still around. They're not former, I'm afraid, so let's not call them former quite yet. But the soon-to-be formerly alive Faex Mundi filth, especially amongst nobility and RCC circles and whatnot, and those are closely interwoven in what used to be España, they lost it. That's the good news. I said countless times how the annihilation map won't get any more red. And now we have a massive case where not just did it not get any more red, it actually became less red. That's what I love about it. It became less red. That's the good news for mankind. I can tell you a few other things. I could tell you about Albania, but I'm not going to do this because this video is not really that. They are messing around. One of these days I will need to do a new annihilation map, and then I'm going to say more about some ongoings right now. But this shit down there. And off topic, so to speak, I just want to show you one of the more banal and just for completeness sake ridiculings that I receive. I've documented some in my past videos very recently, how in the news they ridicule me and whatnot. I want to show you this here. This here. I have a subscription on these three. This is my football club. This is in here for reasons that are out of context here. This here is actually just because they used to have interesting videos. They have for the longest time ridiculed me via the particular topics of themes and of videos that they upload. So this is the latest upload an hour ago, augmented reality and wargaming. I haven't clicked it. I'm not going to click it. I'm not going to click any of these shit videos anymore, ever since I figured that they ridicule me and mankind with these. This one here, there's a couple of other ones. This has been going for quite a while actually, but this one is really an in-your-face ridicule that they're doing. I just want to document this, how to this day YouTube allows such shit, and how someone in North America might want to do away with YouTube, Google, Alphabet Inc., the whole fucking conglomerate. That would be much appreciated. Thank you.